tawa mai i runga, tu tawa mai i raro, tu tawa mai i roto, tu tawa mai i waho, kia tau ai te Māori tū, te Māori ora, ki te katoa, haumea, puie, tai kie. Thank you. Just to advise that we are, of course, live streaming and recording for administrative purposes. And moving on to apologies, we have an apology from Councillor Tāpini. Can I have a mover and seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Crown and Councillor Simpson. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Do we have any conflicts of interest? We do not have any presenters in the public forum today. Announcements by myself, just wanting to provide an update and make a public announcement that we have received a response from the Honourable Minister Mahuta regarding our request for an extension to consider Māori wards for the 2022 elections, and I just will read out the response that we've received. Tēnā koe, Ms Wise. Thank you for your letter received on the 12th of May 2021 about the Local Electoral Māori Wards and Māori Constituencies Amendment Act 2021. I acknowledge that the time extension for making decisions on Māori wards to 21 May 2021 did not provide a great deal of time for councils that are new to this kaupapa. The intended purpose of the time extension was to provide a window of opportunity for a fresh decision by those councils in a position to do so. I saw this as a fair solution given the significance of the changes to the Local Electoral Act 2001. The time extension needed to be constrained because, as you noted, local authorities need enough time to complete their representation reviews after the decision is made on Māori wards. Further time extensions, including to the 21 May Māori wards deadline and the 8 September representation review deadline, will not be possible. This would require urgent legislative change, create uncertainty for other councils completing representation reviews, and leave insufficient time for appeals on final representation proposals to the Local Government Commission or High Court before the 2022 local elections. The Government is planning to introduce further changes to the Local Electoral Act 2001 to better align the processes for establishing general wards and Māori wards. These changes are expected to be in place from late 2022 and are intended to support councils making decisions on Māori wards in the next term of local government. I have encouraged councils to work with iwi, hapu, whānau and communities to make decisions about Māori wards in the time available. I know that councils are in different stages of their relationships with iwi and that this means different approaches will be taken by different councils. The second stage of legislative changes will ensure that a robust process for establishing Māori wards will be available for councils in the future as those relationships continue to evolve. I know that you will be disappointed that the deadline for decisions on establishing Māori wards for the next triennial election cannot be further extended. However, I encourage your council to continue dialogue with your community on this issue to support a well-informed decision at the next opportunity to consider this. Thank you again for writing. So unfortunately, we have not been able to have an extension. However, we do have a paper coming to us today that's come through from our Māori Committee, which is outlining our next steps in terms of our continued engagement both with iwi mana whenua and our wider community on the potential establishment of Māori wards. I'd just like to call for any minor matters not on the agenda. Councillor Brown.
Are the steps on the hill that are still closed?
Thank you. And do we have any announcements by management? Moving on to confirmation of minutes of the ordinary meetings of council held on the 22nd of April 2021 be confirmed as a true and accurate record of the meeting. I do just have one correction to highlight. In the public forum, one of the presenters, Tanya Eden, has been incorrectly named as the Chief Executive of Te Tai Whenua o Hiratonga, and of course she is the Chief Executive of Te Tai Whenua o Te Whanganui a Orutu, so just highlighting that. Do I have a mover and seconder for the minutes, please? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Brosnan, seconded by Councillor Wright. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. On to our agenda items, and first up we have the financial forecast to 30 June 2021. Welcome, Caroline Thompson, could you speak to the paper, please?
Thank you. Through the Mayor. So this report provides you with the financial forecast for Council's operating and capital expenditure through to 30th of June 2021. I'd just like to note, I'll make it clear that the revenue and expenditure relating to the Three Waters reform program has been excluded from this forecast, as it is expected that any unspent funds in this financial year would be carried forward into 21-22, and then all funds would be spent by March 2022 as per the DIA guidelines. The year-end operating forecast or accounting result is showing a net deficit of 5.6 million compared to the amended budget deficit of 7.6 million. The key drivers for the favourable forecast variance are significantly better than forecast revenue at Council's tourism sites, noting that the 2021 revenue budgets were reduced to allow for any COVID impacts. There was unbudgeted grant funding received for the aquarium and some shovel-ready projects, and we're also holding a large number of vacant positions across Council, which is resulting in a favourable variance in our labour budget. Favourable variances are partially offset by unfavourable variances for depreciation, resulting from the significant uplift in values from the revaluation of infrastructure assets, some increases in legal costs, insurance premiums and excess, unbudgeted November flooding costs, unrealised overtime savings, and an adjustment to the labour multiplier to reflect the correct allocation of labour costs to capital projects. The year-end forecast also looks at our rate position, and this differs from the accounting result as non-cash items such as depreciation, vested assets and financial contributions are excluded from this result. Forecast rates position to the 30th of June is 163,000 favourable to budget. The table on page 6 of the report lists the main drivers of the forecast variances, but it is important to note that the revenue at Kennedy Park is expected to exceed budget by $3 million for this year. We have also set aside $500,000 as a funding contingency for any additional costs between now and the end of the year, such as legal or recruitment, noting, as I said before, our favourable forecast variance for labour due to the high number of vacant positions we're holding. We need to recruit, obviously, for those positions. The forecast capital spend is $62 million against an amended budget of $90.4 million. And the carry forward commitments will be brought back to Council in a separate report for inclusion in the revised budget for 21-22. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Caroline. Open for questions. Deputy Mayor Brosnan.
Thank you, Caroline. When does Council receive the revised budget for 21-22?
It will be at a Council meeting in the first quarter of the new financial year. I'm not sure of the date yet.
Thank you. Any further questions? Could I have a mover and seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Mawson and Councillor Bogue. Did you wish to speak to either? No? Anyone else wish to speak to the item? Oh, Councillor Brown.
Just to say it's good that we haven't blown our budgets, but it is a bit concerning that we've got so many vacancies and we're not getting all the work done that we've said that we would. So hoping we can fill those vacancies and get the work done.
Thank you. And I guess to acknowledge all of the team at Kennedy Park in particular, because obviously their performance has certainly assisted to offset some of the other negatives on our forecast for the year. So they've had a very busy time. There being no further councillors wishing to speak to the motion, I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you, Caroline. Next up, we have an update on the Hawke's Bay Regional Transport Committee, and I think Deborah Stewart, no, Robin Malley, or a tag team.
Last week. 6 Depot Cities.
Through you, Madam Chair. Robin's probably best placed to give an update on this one because he's completely across it and I'm not so much. But the purpose of the report is to update you on the minutes of the last 2 Regional Land Transport Committee meetings, which were December and March, and we have had another one that is kind of slotted in between the agenda items being approved and this meeting. So Robin is probably best placed just to update you on the detail of that.
So, Your Worship, it's only a minor update. I guess the Regional Land Transport Programme and the plan have now been approved. The special meeting, I believe, was held last Friday. And the actual spirit of all the plan hasn't changed at all. There were some minor matters discussed by Wairoa and Central Hawke's Bay, which were incorporated into the last change, but there was nothing of great impact for Napier.
Can you take any questions if there are?
Yeah.
I'll open up for questions. Deputy Mayor Brosnan.
Me again. Robin, could you update me on the Aotearoa Urban Street Guide, and in particular whether that has relevance to our local area traffic management proposals as part of the LTP?
Through Your Worship, yes, they will have relevance. It's basically a next level street design guide for residential streets. It'll come along with the network operating framework, which is bringing a new classification to streets that incorporates the place function of the street as well as the movement function. This new design guide will certainly assist us to bring some of those classifications to reality, I guess. But we haven't seen a great deal of it yet.
Thank you. Councillor McGrath.
Just through the chair, I haven't had an opportunity to read through the plan completely, but is there any thinking in there that one day we may actually 4-lane the expressway?
Through you, Chair, yes, there is capacity for a business case for the expressway. Certainly, there's a great deal of pressure coming from council members in Hastings, and I think once we do get to that business case, it will certainly be an all modes type of business case, so it might not be additional traffic lanes that get put in the end, but it is in there.
Excellent. I look forward to hearing more about it in the very near future.
Councillor Simpson, followed by Councillor Crystal.
Through you, Madam Chair. If the officers could please just explain what the new regional road safety dashboard is meant to be, or how it's going to deliver or contribute, or is it going to be visible?
Through you, sorry, I would have to come back to on that one. I'm not sure of the details of that one yet.
Just note that as an action. Councillor Crystal.
Through the chair, I note in there they talk about the Wairoa to Napier rail line, and that Hawke's Bay are pushing for a better service. I noted that in the budget there was money given to rail, so I just wondered what was kind of said on that and how that's progressing.
Through you, Chair, this upcoming National Land Transport Programme is the first which has included rail in amongst the funding, so rail has all of a sudden become part of that, and that's overseen by Waka Kotahi. The pressure, I think, to get the rail back on board is fairly consistent across the board. The only problem is it tends to be private business that's driving the use of it. But there's also quite a bit of pressure for passenger rail. And then we had a few representations who were seeking to have passenger rail going all the way to Gisborne as well. That's obviously a very different prospect, but certainly it's top of people's minds, and one of the main mitigations for the state of the State Highway 2 between Napier and Wairoa.
Well, I've been told that the reason they're not using it a lot is they don't have enough trucks, and so they only put them on the weekends. So yeah, that's a bit interesting. You know,
There are,
not trucks. The
the rail cars.
trucks,
Yep.
yeah.
And that is true.
Carriages. Yes.
Again, through you, the I guess the operational side of Kiwi Rail and rolling stock, as well as the state of the rails, is a difficult one for councils and regional councils to actually influence. While they have come within the National Land Transport umbrella, they're still very much their own entity. Hopefully that will change over the next couple of programmes, but there's a way to go yet.
Do we have any further questions? I have a mover and seconder. Thank you, Councillor Price and Councillor Taylor. Did either of you wish to speak to that? Councillor Taylor.
You know, I'd just like to make a brief comment. You will notice in 2.3 issues that the Regional Cycle Governance Group have had the opportunity to appoint an advisor to the group, and I'm filling that role at the present time. And from the Regional Cycling Governance Group, our focus is not so much just on cycling, it's on active transport. So it's very encouraging to see that active transport is becoming a very important part of the transport network. And as has been alluded to, if the expressway does get expanded, it won't just necessarily be for, it'll be multimodal, so that's something to look forward to, particularly with the increase in electric bike usage. Thank you.
Thank you. Just open for any other councillors who may wish to speak. That not being the case, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you, Deborah and Robin. We'll move on to the reports and recommendations from the standing committees. I will work through these. If there is one that you would like to stop and ask questions or debate further, let me know. Otherwise, we will pass them as a group, committee by committee. So first up, we have the reports from the Napier People and Places Committee held on the 29th of April 2021. Number 1, the Napier Social Monitor Report 2020. 2, the Safer Napier Program Annual Update. And 3, the Faraday Centre Business Case. Do I have a mover and seconder? Thank you, Councillor Bogue and Councillor Wright. Did either of you wish to speak to any of those? I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Next up, the reports from Prosperous Napier Committee held on the 29th of April 2021. One agenda item being the revaluation of Napier City 2020. Moved by Councillor Crown, seconded by Councillor Taylor. Did you wish to speak?
I did actually. As I was reviewing all the papers that came to us over these meetings, I was reminded of the way that things interlink with each other, and so the fact that the Social Monitor report had come to us in People and Places, and the revaluation, I'm wondering how the revaluation will be reflected in our Social Monitor reporting going forward, whether those things will affect the well-being and the lifestyle that our people are living in the city. So yeah, I just wanted to note that really, and say that whilst it seems like a sort of independent lone sort of thing, it has the ability to impact the lives of our people quite extensively. So yeah.
Crown. No one else wishes to speak. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. On to the reports from the Sustainable Napier Committee held on the 6th of May 2021. Now, we do have an update on one of the papers in here, so I will leave that to do separately at the end. So first up, we have the Carlisle Street Corridor Review Public Consultation. Next is the Wastewater Treatment Plant Resource Consent Compliance Monitoring Reports. 3, the Capital Program Delivery. Number 4 is the one we will leave to do separately. And 5, report on the Napier water supply status end of Q3 2020-21. Moving Councillor Price, seconded by Councillor Crystal. Do you wish to speak to that? Okay, so I'll put the motion on those. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. And I now will invite Robin Maley to come and join us again just to give an update on item 4, which was the 2021 review of Napier Speed Limits Bylaw 2012. Welcome.
Thank you again, Your Worship. We've made some very good progress with Waka Kotahi in the intervening weeks since this was originally considered by Sustainable Napier and the Māori Committee. We have now got confirmation in principle that 13 of our schools will be able to have 30k variable speed limits, which is what we were hoping for. The remainder will be initially on 40k until the legislation is processed later this year or early next year. So the schools which have got confirmed for a 30k treatments: West Shore, Port Ahuriri, Central, Girls High, Napier Intermediate, Nelson Park, St Patrick's, Green Meadows School, Bledisloe School, Taradale Intermediate and High School, Arthur Miller School and Maraenui Bilingual Schools. So we will be implementing those as soon as we can process the rest of the bylaw. The statement of proposal in this current agenda has been updated to reflect these changes.
Fantastic. That's great news. All those schools are on very busy, highly congested roads. Councillor Simpson.
Through you, Madam Chair. So my question would be, changing the speed limits for safety purposes, are we going to do some public education around that to ensure that the reason for the change is stated and the observance would be appreciated?
Through you, Your Worship. Yep, certainly we've got a programme together for education, which will come in after the bylaw, but the 30k environment is a new thing for Napier, so that will be included in the bylaw consultation as well.
Councillor Bogue.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Just a question, could you just clarify that the new speed limits, will they apply all the time or just when the schools are open?
So we're proposing that each is centred for 40 minutes around each school start and close time. We will discuss with the schools when they feel whether that should be biased towards the pre or post close and open times.
Councillor Price.
Robin, I'm just wondering if you could give a rundown on the workshop we did last week about how speed limits will be decided. And then I'll know what they were getting at too, if you tell me.
So, through you, Worship, this may actually have been better off in the last paper, but certainly the old or current bylaw system is being reviewed. Waka Kotahi and Ministry of Transport have proposed new methods, and those include the agreeing of a regional speed management guide, which would mean that ourselves, Hastings, Central Hawke's Bay and Wairoa District all signed up to a single speed plan. We then have processes to map those nationally. The consultation would come back to the road controlling authorities as individuals, and the decisions upon those would also sit with the local authorities as well. But it's much more regional. It's slightly more straightforward than the old way, but there is one additional step. So we are responding to the consultation on that and trying to get a more regional approval process as well as just the marketing and the pre-work.
Thank you.
I did get it right.
For the minutes. Councillor Simpson.
Through you, Madam Chair, if I can just ask a supplementary question. So is that concept to introduce consistency throughout the different districts in the region so that all schools across the region have the same speed limit, other zones are classed or classified similarly, have the same speed limits across the region? Is that what the intent of that is?
Through you, Your Worship, is certainly that consistency was previously, how do I say, secured through NZTA having a final approval of everything, and they were I suppose, the gatekeepers of that. The idea with doing it regionally is so that we can actually respond to regional conditions and regional needs, but we retain that consistency through the region. We're a slightly odd region in that we have very, very few border roads. Hastings has very few, with Wairoa has quite a few with Central Hawke's Bay. We've only got a handful actually with Hastings and none with anybody else. So dealing with those border roads is something that will be captured by that, and certainly that consistency is a big part of the driver.
Councillor Crystal.
Through the Mayor, just back to the schools, how will we notify motorists of the timing of the speed limits?
Through Your Worship. So the main roads which have the 30k or 40k variable will have flashing speed signs, similar to what we've got on Kennedy Road at the moment. If there's a side road coming into that variable, we have a fairly large supplementary sign that says 30k during these hours. And so those on the main roads find it pretty hard to miss the speed change.
Yeah, I was just thinking about Taradale Intermediate and High School. I've got a few roads feeding onto Murphy Road there. Yeah, and that's chaos.
Yes, so that'll be where the the supplementary static signs will go. There's obviously more work to do around that area as it is. So.
Just a point of clarification, Robin. We are just talking about a proposal and a draft for consultation as a statement of proposal, aren't we? Just in terms of clarifying for people who think this may be something that's being implemented shortly.
Through Your Worship, yeah, absolutely. The consultation starts 6th of June, I believe.
Thank you.
Now, I just would like to note that we need to amend the committee's recommendation based on the fact that we now have the change with the 30 kilometre per hour speed limit for a selection of schools. So if you refer to your minutes and under the committee's recommendation, point A, number 1, currently reads variable speed limits at schools to be 50 kph, 40 kph in place of 50 to 30 as proposed in 2019. And I would just propose that that be amended to variable speed limits at schools to be 50 kilometres per hour to 40 kph or 30 kph based on the schools approved by Waka Kotahi. And I'm happy to move that amendment from the chair if I have a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Simpson. I guess just to comment again that it's great that Waka Kotahi have seen that actually being more conservative around our schools that are in very high traffic and busy areas. It's good to have that through, and looking forward to receiving feedback from our community on all of the proposed changes that we have in our bylaw review. Councillor Simpson, did you wish to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think the most important thing is around public education as to why those limits vary. And around public safety of our young. And I think it's essential that when we go forward, not just around the consultation, but we look into the future around how we maintain some level of public education around the timings and the variations of speed.
open up for any other councillors that wish to speak to the motion. I'll put that then. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you, Robin. Next up, we have the reports from the Future Napier Committee held on the 6th of May 2021. Number 1, Resource Consent Activity Update. 2, Chairperson's Report, Repair and Reinstatement of the Napier War Memorial Original Roll of Honour Plaques. And 3, the concept design for the Napier War Memorial Centre.
Just wanted to flag my standing conflict on item 1 there, sorry, Your Worship.
Yes, I just wanted to, in light of item 2, the repair and reinstatement of the Napier War Memorial, I just wanted to congratulate and thank all those people who have been involved in this process, this journey, the Mayor and the Deputy Mayor in particular, and all the stakeholders from here and from the community. It's been a long journey. It's been it hasn't been easy, but I'm really very impressed with this very comprehensive proposal, concept design, and I'd just like to thank all the people that had input into it, because I think we're going to end up with a really positive outcome.
Thank you, Councillor Rogue. I will ask for a mover and seconder, please.
Happy to move items 2 and 3.
We'll find someone who can move all of them. Yeah. Councillor Crystal and Councillor Crown. Thank you. I was looking at you because it's your committee. So. Did either of you wish to speak to any of the...
I concur with Councillor Bogue about the concept design and reinstatement of the plaques, the War Memorial. It's taken a long time, but I'm really glad and happy that this is finally progressing, and I'm sure our community will be as well. And we can't wait for it to be finished.
If there's no further comments, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. On to our last standing committee reports, being from the Māori Committee held on the 14th of May 2021. 3 agenda items, being the Māori Committee Terms of Reference, the establishment of the Māori Committee for the 2019-2022 triennium, and 3 Māori wards consultation and engagement process. And just commenting from the Chair that these 3 papers are all directly linked to the commitment that we have made with regards to exploring and developing the opportunities that we have to continue to develop our partnership with local iwi and mana whenua. And number 3 in particular relates to the immediate engagement that we're looking to undertake around the potential implementation of Māori wards for 2025, which will be going into formal consultation in September of this year, with a decision to be made by November of this year. So I'll just open up if any councillors do wish to ask any questions or speak to any of the papers. Councillor Crown.
Thank you, through the Chair. Actually, for item 1, I just wanted to get some clarification around timeframes. There were a number of resolutions made there in regards to how our Māori Committee will be made up, including additional councillors or elected members sitting there, and additional members of the community also. So wondering what the recruitment or the timeframes around those appointments will be.
Through you, Madam Mayor. So with respect to the discussion on this, the representatives of the Māori Committee wanted a little bit more time with respect to the exploring of the committee name and extending the membership with respect to their ability to make sure that they had full quorum all the time. So we did leave the timeframes a little open on that. Subject for discussion though, in the spirit of the Mayor's opening statement, we are intending to move through these processes as quickly as we can, in step with our consultation on Māori wards, and also take a paper back to the Māori Committee next time with a formal plan.
Thank you. Can I just further to that, in terms of the two Māngaia Hori representatives, which are the community representatives who are appointed through an application process. Those two positions are actually appointed to. So it is the 3 additional elected members that needs to be completed. Councillor Bogue.
Yes, I just have a few questions. Item 2, the establishment of the Māori Committee. It says at the end that the information contained in the establishment of the Māori Committee for the 2019-2022 Triennium Report. What exactly is that for members of the public who may not know? Where do we find that information, please?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'm just trying to find that myself with respect to that paper, so I might have to take that one on notice.
Right.
Apologies.
Okay.
The purpose of the paper, though, was to very much, we have a number of new members on the Māori Committee. We have had some criticism about how our Māori Committee is appointed to. So the paper itself was very much a statement of how the Māori Committee is established and how it works, but I would need to take the actual question on notice. Apologies.
Thank you. A couple of other points I wanted to make was in item 3, Māori Wards Consultation Engagement Process, we do talk on the second page, page 31, about our Treaty of Waitangi obligations, and I'm totally aware that legally we have got no delegated responsibility for Treaty of Waitangi. We're not the Crown. However, we do have a statement in our governance document that we recognise the importance of the tiriti and we will uphold the principles in some way. So I'm hoping that with our planned review of the governance statement in the next few months, we'll have an opportunity to sort of unpack that and see what it means to us, and perhaps have a bit more information about our responsibilities under the treaty. So yeah, I just wanted to add that although legally this is completely correct, but we do have information and responsibilities that are outlined in our governance statement as well. And I don't know whether anybody else, did you want to say something about that? Or
I guess just to actually assure yourself, Councillor Bogue, and all other elected members and the wider community that we absolutely have made a commitment to the principles of the Tiriti o Waitangi, and we will be continuing to develop the partnership model as a co-design process with our Māori Committee and the wider Mana Whenua community.
And just one other thing, at the bottom of that page on item, was it item 3 I'm on, was an engagement and consultation plan that would be presented to us by the end of May. And I was wondering if we could have the opportunity to find out about that, please, or is it not quite ready?
Thank you. Through the Mayor, I might just invite Natasha up to speak on our progress on that, but to answer your question directly, it is not yet ready to be shared, but we will speak to our progress on that. Thank you.
Kia ora everyone, through the Mayor. So I just thought it would be probably opportune to give you an update on where we're up to, and just to reiterate sort of the key components of the engagement and consultation planning. And yes, we are working on the actual plan, which will be shared with you at the end of May, following the endorsement from the Māori Committee. So as you know, a paper went to the Māori Committee to endorse our approach around engagement and consultation for Māori wards, which they did. And that really is the 2 stages of consultation, the pre-consultation engagement, which has a really key focus on knowledge building and information sharing, and really preparing our community for the formal consultation, which of course is the second stage. And the second stage is really a focus on providing information and listening to what our community is saying. I think a key point to note that we've recognised is that the situation and the landscape in New Zealand and in Napier has changed significantly from the last time we did the representation review in 2017. So this is really about a look forward, and very much focused on the what, when, why, and why now in terms of the types of information that we want to share. So following the Māori Committee, we established 2 workshops for the co-design of the engagement and consultation plan. The first one has already been held, and we've started to develop a campaign following that in the interim, and our second one is tomorrow. So we're hoping to finalise that campaign and the key engagement activities, and then we will be sharing with council and at the same time preparing the campaign and the tools that we'll need to go out with. The campaign is due to launch around the 14th of June. However, I'd note that there's already been some engagement, and particularly looking at invitations out to our community, including mana whenua entities, around having conversations and meeting and talking about the matter. So we understand that in our community that we've got varying levels of knowledge from people who don't know anything, and I think some of you have even been asked about whether Māori wards are wards in hospitals, for example. So we have some people who know very little, and then some people who know a lot. So we do need to make sure that we are able to bring that knowledge up so that people can make it an informed submission, and but also recognising and being respectful that there are people in the community who know a lot about this matter too. So in terms of, we recognise that we have key stakeholders, particularly mana whenua entities, marae and iwi, and we're recognising that they will no doubt be engaging with their networks extensively. So our approach really is to enable the engagers where we can. If we have anything that we can support them with, we will do that. And really continue to offer the opportunity to meet with us to talk about the matter, and also to keep people informed about where we're up to in our process, particularly as we head into consultation. The engagement period is about 6 weeks, so that's a long time before people will then actually get to have their say. So we just need to make sure that we transition from engagement and information sharing to that call to action and asking people to give us their preference for Māori wards, and keeping that really clear and clean and informative. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about where we're up to or what's next.
Councillor Bowe.
Just a comment. Thank you, Natasha. That's really helpful, and I like the way you use engagement and information sharing rather than education. I think, because education to me sounds like, we know best, and it's sort of more prescriptive than information sharing or engagement, which you have used.
Through the chair, yes. Actually, we are saying is around knowledge building as well. So, absolutely.
Thank you.
If there's no further questions, I'm happy to move from the chair. If I could have a seconder, please. Thank you, Councillor Bowe. Thank you, Natasha, for sharing that information. Much appreciated. I don't have any further comments to make. Councillor Bowe, did you wish to say? No? I'll put the motion then. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Reports under delegated authority, 2 item agendas here. I'll move them together. 1, tenders let, and 2, documents executed under sealed. Are there any questions on either of those reports? No, I'll ask for a mover and seconder, please. Deputy Mayor Brosnan, Councillor Crown, thank you. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Brings us to our minor matters. Councillor Brown.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor, I just note that there's still 3 lots of steps that go up the hill that haven't been reinstated and reopened for the public yet. So I was just wondering if we could have an update on the repairs and a bit of information around what the delay is in getting those reopened.
Thanks, Robin.
Thank you, Robin. Busy day for you today here. We're just bringing something up on the screen as well, so we'll give a moment for that.
That's lovely, thank you.
Here's something you prepared earlier.
Not on ours. That's all right, you can turn it around.
Certainly through you, Chair. Thanks to Councillor Brown for giving us a heads up on this. So this is not something I've just knocked up. So yes, we do have 3 of our steps and ramps still closed since November. The plan shows them there. I don't know how easy it is, but we've got Onslow Brewster, which is the zigzaggy one to cross to the right. We've got at the bottom of the sketch is the May Avenue to Faraday, and the one closer to the top of the diagram, thank you, is Fitzroy to Shakespeare, so the Fitzroy steps. I'll start with Faraday Street to May Avenue. That's the steps that were left hanging after a large chunk of the hillside dropped down into the rear of the Bayswater yard. We have had a number of designs done for that. We had Abseil engineers visit the site a couple of weeks ago, and they found an additional undercut that we weren't aware of. So there's been a slight change to the plan for that, but we'll effectively just bridge the gap. But of course, any new bridges or anything require building consent and detailed design. So unfortunately, that's going to take a little while. The Onslow to Brewster, that's one that was already on our radar. The central section, the steps, are a little bit wonky and have been for a number of years. So over the last 2 years, we've been working on that with consultants. As it happened then in November, that same flight of stairs slipped further down because a retaining wall beneath it made of ponga logs that failed in the rain. So we have to take into consideration that retaining wall now. That's in private property, so we'll fix the both, but unfortunately we already had a head start on the design for those steps anyway, so hoping to have that one open by Christmas. And the final one is the Fitzroy steps, and the slip at the top was actually on private property but came into and blocked the walkway itself, or the steps, very popular with runners for some reason. And that has yet to be cleared in its entirety, and there's still some issues on the boundary that we're trying to resolve with those landowners. So no date of resolution on that one, I'm afraid, yet. But there's not a huge amount of physical work on Fitzroy. It's just getting past the legal side.
Thank you, Robin. Councillor Bogue.
Just a question. How many sets of steps are there, Robin, including those ones? Anyone know?
Through you, Chair, this is my blank face. I think it's about 24.
Okay.
Any further, Councillor Brown?
Just on the first one, you said it may take a little while. That means lots of different things to different people. Is there any... Can you narrow that down a little bit?
Well, I've been told by the engineers that it could be very, very soon, as in the next few weeks, because it may be able to be fixed while the Abseil engineers are around in Napier. Okay. But he said, don't tell council that, because I can't guarantee it.
Good discretion.
Failing that, it will be before Christmas. It's not a sort of a 5-year fix. It is a couple of months fix.
And just, I've heard reports that a number of the public are going past our road closure signs and using the pathways. They're obviously blocked for a reason. Do you want to maybe give a
stern warning?
Yeah. And can you explain the hazard, I suppose?
It's very difficult, through you again, Madam Chair. The steps are all clearly closed. People choosing to go past those signs, past those barriers, are doing so at their own risk. The Fitzroy one can be used to access the properties which are up there, but only from one direction. It's very difficult to stop. We could put particularly ugly, huge fences everywhere, but people would still get past if they were interested in having a look.
Thank you very much, Robin. That brings us to the end of our open agenda. So can I have a mover and seconder? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Brosnan and Councillor Mawson, to go into public excluded. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. We will just have a very